welcome everybody to our 26th year. This summer, we're going to have 105 instructors from all over the world. We're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,000 people to come through here. And the reason we get so many people is because we have the best craftsmen of all of modern time. And one of those people is Graham Blackburn. Graham?
Good afternoon.
Glad to have you back.
Good
Just so
to be
you know,
back.
the very first year Graham taught for me was 2000. So he's been with me for 19 years. So it's been fun to grow together and get to know each other very well. And what I'd like to do, though, is let people know a little bit more about you from your first life. And Graham gave me a book the other day, and it was called Adante, From London to Woodstock. And this is a story of Graham from basically birth to about 1974. And during that time period, he grew up where he lived in London. And at night, he'd have to go to the bomb shelters while Germany was bombing. And in the day, they'd go out and see what damage was done. And it was interesting to see his life from that point in time to how he ended up coming to America through Juilliard. And then, things started to get crazy. So tell me about when you came to America.
Well, I came on a boat. And the only thing that happened on the boat, apart from throwing up violently, was... At one point, we got to see the Queen Mary.
Oh.
But it really felt like I was going somewhere. I'd been all over Europe and traveled and taken trains and things, but coming to America way back in the 60s, you were going somewhere. That was like a 4-day trip. There was no going home once I got to America. So that was kind of fun. It was a different thing. It's not like today when you get on the airport and there you are, breakfast, you're in another country.
And you came because you were accepted to go to Juilliard. What were your intentions?
I had the opportunity. I was studying at the Music Conservatory in London, but they're very strict in London. And if they had found out that I was doing anything extramural, I would have got sent down. And in fact, I was. I was working for and studying with an American composer at the time. And when he found out about how strict they were, he said, no. You come to America, and not only can you do extra work, and they won't mind, they'll give you extra credit for it. So that was an opportunity not to be turned down. So he helped me get a green card, and there I was in America.
And you came, and while you were here, what year was that?
Oh, I think it was like 1653. No, I think it was like 1965.
1965.
Yeah.
And then while you were studying music, hoping to someday become a composer, right?
Yep, that was the trip. I was just studying composition,
and what was your instruments that you played?
I was a composition major.
So,
although I had for a long time played woodwind, saxophones and clarinets and things, but the main thrust was to study compositions here and then go back and write film music for the BBC.
And while you were here during that time period, doing extracurricular work, where did you find yourself in the music world at that time?
Well, there was a lot happening. I was in New York, of course, and the only place that anyone had ever heard of outside New York was Woodstock, which had been a famous art colony, and then it had become a folk music center. And about that time, Bob Dylan moved to Woodstock, and the rock and rollers started to move in. Mm-hmm. So I got to meet a lot of those people, and that was a lot of fun.
Meet and actually play with a lot of those people.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And one of those people was Van Morrison.
Yep.
That you were with for a number of years,
yep,
right?
Yep.
And there's a book on Van, and you're mentioned in there quite often.
Yeah, there were several, actually.
And his name at that point in time, the nickname was Monk, is what they called you.
Yep, that was how I was known in the music business.
And so you toured all over America, played with a lot of other bands.
Yep.
But what then led you to woodworking? Because it's a big switch to go from such an incredible background in music to woodworking.
Well, I'd always liked woodwork, and my father, who had also been a musician, was also a builder. So I had always enjoyed, as a kid, messing around in his shop and playing with his tools and doing things. And after I discovered Woodstock, moved to Woodstock, and got the unexpected opportunity to build a house, which was something I was not going to turn down, in the beginning, there wasn't that much music work. So to keep paying the rent, pay the mortgage or whatever, then the most natural thing was to start doing some woodwork.
Uh-huh.
So that was how that started.
And so the woodworking led you into writing, and you had already, at that point in time, had you already written other books?
Well, ever since before I came to America, I'd been trying to get books published.
And some of those were novels.
Yes, yeah. They were all very obscure novels, and I'd got a lot of rejections, but I'd met a lot of publishers, and after I built the house in Woodstock, I was friendly with one of a big New York publisher, and although he was one of the many publishers to reject my novels, because he thought it was too advanced or whatever, he recognized that I could write and I could draw, and he said, write the book about how you built the house, and we published that.
And that was your first book?
And that was the first book. And then that coincided, that coincided with the music scene had gotten more and more crazy. I'd done a lot of recording, I'd played with a lot of bands, and when I got that offer to write that first book, that was too good an opportunity to turn down, and it was such a relief to be involved in something away from all the craziness of the music business that became then my life for the next 10 years or so.
So then your first woodworking book was based on hand tools.
Yeah.
About 1974, I have that book,
all
illustrated by you, because you're an incredible illustrator. And then the rest is history. You ended up working for Woodwork Magazine. You were the editor at one point in time?
Yeah, I edited. I was associated editor of fine woodworking. I wrote a regular column for Popular Woodworking, and then at one point I took over the editorship of Woodwork Magazine.
And one of the things that Graham is most known for is his hand tool books and his design books. And to date, and just in woodworking, how many books have you written?
Oh, I don't know, because there were different editions. Some of them became combined, some of them got published in other formats, but probably there's probably as many as 20 books, 20 different titles at different titles.
And I've got a couple of them here. And for me, one of my big pride and joys is one of these books he dedicated to me, which is really a cool thing. Graham is a true American icon in the world of woodworking. It's a thrill to have him be a big part of our program. We've been together forever. He's actually written in my will. And I think I'm written in his.
Well, he's written in my will if he promises not to screw my hand tools to the wall.
Also, Graham, how can people find out more about you and your books?
Just go to Amazon.com and type in Graham Blackburn and you'll see all the books. Or for a more immediate and personalized response, go to www.blackburnbooks.com.
It's a real privilege to have you here, and it's great to give you a little bit better insight into Graham himself. Been around forever. He's an icon in our world, and it's a pleasure to have him as a great friend.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.